Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Off the Dome podcast. It is season 3. It is episode 7. Thank you very much for tuning in to the 7th week in a row. Now that I'm putting this episode out, or this podcast out, every Monday, the Off the Dome podcast comes out. Before we get into anything, if you want to send in your hot takes, or if you want me to go over your hot takes, leave your hot takes in the comment of this video or in the comment section of any video of mine on TikTok. If I like your comment, it's probably meaning that I'm going to use it. All right? With that being said, before we get into it, subscribe to help me out. Like the video, all that stuff. And yeah, let's just get rolling. It's season 3. It's episode 7. I mean, the weeks are just flying by. The weeks are flying by in the NBA right now. And to be honest with you, this week, I think I didn't pay attention to too many of the storylines that were going on this week. I just sort of casually watch games. All right, I didn't take a deep dive into too much of the shit that was happening. There wasn't really that much that was happening. Ben Simmons was saying some stuff about the 76ers causing problems to his mental health. There were some other news stories that were coming out, but I want to take a look at the MVP rankings that the NBA put out. I want to take a look at the hottest teams in the league right now, the rookie ladder, and I'll finish off with some hot takes. It shouldn't be too long of an episode. It really shouldn't be. Again, like I said, I didn't really pay attention to too many of the intricate storylines that were going on in the NBA over the past week. And if you're here for that, I'm sorry. I let you down this week, all right? That's all right. Next week, I'll be back and I'll be better. But we're going to start off with the MVP rankings. The NBA released their top 10 MVP rankings for whatever week it is now in the NBA. We're about 10, 12 games in now for most teams. And the NBA's top 10 MVP rankings for this week went as follows. At number 10, they went with Joel Embiid. At 9, Ja Morant. At number 8, Rudy Gobert. 7, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 6, Jimmy Butler. Number 5, DeMar DeRozan. Getting in now to the number 4 spot, they give it to Paul George. In the top 3, third, Nikola Jokic. 2, Stephen Curry. And number 1 went to Kevin Durant for the second week in a row. KD as the number 1 spot right now in the MVP. In my opinion, Kevin Durant is leading the race in the MVP award right now. KD putting up 29, 8.5 rebounds, 5 assists per game. His team's 10-4. The Brooklyn Nets, we're starting to see now the Eastern Conference really starting to shape out. And I want to talk a little bit about the hottest teams in the league in a second here, but let me just bring up the standings real quick in the Eastern Conference, because the standings in the East are sort of weird right now. At the top, or we have the usual suspects up there, the teams we expected to be up there, other than the Milwaukee Bucks, who are dealing with some injuries. The Boston Celtics, again, they're shit this year. I did not expect that to happen, but at the top of the Eastern Conference, we're seeing teams like the Brooklyn Nets, the Chicago Bulls, the Miami Heat, the 76ers are top 6 right now, despite having some injury issues recently. But then there's the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Washington Wizards. The Wizards currently are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Cavaliers are 4th in the East. Kind of weird now what's happening in the Eastern Conference. But right now the Brooklyn Nets seem to be the favorites in the East. And I'm looking at the East right now, and I know I've said in the past that I think the Miami Heat have a shot at making the NBA Finals, and I still stick to that. The Milwaukee Bucks, when fully healthy, obviously have a shot at the NBA Finals. But I'm looking at the Eastern Conference right now, and I'm reading through the teams right now, the top, 11 or so teams in the East. And I'm asking myself, can I actually envision this team beating the Brooklyn Nets in a 7-game series? The Washington Wizards, no. Chicago, no. I mean, you guys, Chicago's a popular team, but no, Chicago can't beat Brooklyn in a 7-game series. Cleveland, no. Miami, if they're lucky. Philadelphia, no. New York Knicks, no. Charlotte, no. Toronto, no. Boston, no. Milwaukee, if they're fully healthy, sure. But Brooklyn, I mean, To imagine Brooklyn not coming out of the Eastern Conference right now is kind of difficult for me. They're balling out, and it's Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's the problem. He's been, I kind of want to say, disrespected a little bit this year. I feel like he's not getting a lot of attention because he's leading the NBA in points per game. He's putting up 8.5 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game. His team is 10-4. He's leading the MVP race according to the NBA and according to most people. Kevin Durant is an absolute killer. It's the same old KD. It's the same old thing over and over again. Every year we get the same old Kevin Durant, and we're getting kind of used to it. He's just too damn good. You can't guard KD. You got to get extremely lucky in order to beat Kevin Durant. All right? I hate this notion when people tell me that, oh, Kevin Durant can be guarded by PJ Tucker. There are certain other players in the league that can guard Kevin Durant. No, nobody can guard KD. Kawhi Leonard cannot guard Kevin Durant. Giannis Antetokounmpo cannot guard Kevin Durant consistently. Sure, there might be a game where KD struggles. There was a game, I think, 2 years ago in the playoffs when Patrick Beverley strapped up Kevin Durant. Fair enough. But what happened the game after that? KD dropped 50 on his head. You can't consistently strap up KD. That will not happen. Not at this point in his career. He's too good. He's too experienced. So when I hear people telling me that, oh, Miami's got a guy that can stop Kevin Durant, they got a guy like Jimmy Butler, they got a guy like PJ Tucker. Sir, ma'am, you must be new to this NBA thing. You must be new to this easy money sniper thing. Because Kevin Durant does not get stopped consistently unless you double team him. But the thing is, you double team Kevin Durant and you got a James Harden. And that's the other thing too. Kevin Durant's been so great this year that we're completely disregarding James Harden. James Harden's a player that I didn't really, at this point in the year, he hasn't been talked about at all pretty much. And Harden's sort of having a quiet year. He's putting up 20 points a game, 7.8 rebounds per game, and 9 assists per game. From 3, he's 41%. That's not bad. He's shooting 42% from the field. 84% from the free throw line. That's a bit down. But James Harden he's doing what he needs to do in Brooklyn right now. He's not trying to do too much. He's just going out there and doing what he needs to do. He's not trying to shoot too much. He's only averaging 14 shot attempts per game, 7 of which from downtown. But he's putting up an efficient 20 points a night. He's giving you 9 dimes a night, and he's giving you almost 9 rebounds per night too. He's just doing what James Harden needs to do. He's doing what his team needs from him at this point right now in the year. And right now, when you got a guy like Kevin Durant who's just going absolutely crazy, James Harden's required to do less. And until I think we're about midway through the season, after Christmas, in and around Christmas, after Christmas, James Harden's going to start picking it up. We're going to start noticing James Harden putting up more 30-point games. He's going to go for 40. He might even hit 50 this year. He probably will hit 50 this year. But Harden's going to have a run of these nights that really became all too comfortable with him having back when he was in Houston. Even last year we saw it a little bit when he was on Brooklyn. Harden's just kind of lurking in the shadows right now. No one's really hopping up James Harden. Everyone was shitting on James Harden at the start of the year. That's kind of calmed down because we're noticing, hey, there's nothing really to shit on here about James Harden. He's doing what he's got to do. His team's winning. He's putting up an efficient stat line, 41% from 3. No, why when James Harden's putting up a good percentage from downtown, no one wants to talk about it? It's only when Harden's shitting the bed from downtown that, oh yeah, Harden's overweight, Harden's washed, Harden's this is the new rule changes, James Harden can't. What's wrong with the rules now? He's putting up 41% from downtown. 3 makes a game on 7.5 attempts per game. Harden's balling out, but just like every other year. Harden's really only in the spotlight when he's playing poorly. Steph Curry in second place right now in the MVP ranking. You can't be mad at that. Golden State 11-2. They just lost to, was it Charlotte? Shout out Charlotte Hornets. They've been kind of surprising. Golden State, they've only lost to Charlotte and Memphis this year. Stephen Curry's going crazy. They destroyed the Chicago Bulls, a game which I'm kind of disappointed about. I really was excited to see Chicago play Golden State I was expecting a good game, but Steph Curry is just too damn good. And the whole Warriors team right now has been phenomenal all year long. Steph Curry, number 2. Nikola Jokic picked up a suspension. That's some bullshit suspension as well. I know that by the time you're watching this is about a week on, but that Markieff Morris and Nikola Jokic situation, I'm back in Nikola Jokic in that situation all day. All right, I love Nikola Jokic, but it's not just that. It's that Jokic is standing up for himself, and he's, Markieff Morris hit him first. Jokic's gonna hit him right back. All right, respect to Nikola Jokic, and Jokic is the pure level of finesse and talent that Nikola Jokic possesses is amazing. He doesn't even have Jamal Murray right now, and he's got his team to a 9-4 record now in the Western Conference. They're third in the West. They've won 5 in a row. The Nuggets are coming on, and they don't even have Jamal Murray. Golden State, they're 11-2. They don't even have Klay Thompson. The top teams right now in the West are without great guards, which is a little bit interesting to see. And Nikola Jokic, 25.5 points per game, 13.5 rebounds per game, 5.7 assists per game, which is much lower than it was last year. But he's just doing Jokic things. That's Nikola Jokic right there. That's what you come to expect. He's a top 10 player in the NBA easily. I think this might be the year that we look at Nikola Jokic as a top 5 player in the NBA. Really might be. Paul George, going crazy. The Clippers had a 7-game winning streak just snapped by the Chicago Bulls, and Paul George put up 27 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and 5.5 assists per game. Paul George is having another great regular season. That's what Paul George does. So those are the top front runners that the NBA gave for their MVP race. For me, my top 5 right now in the MVP race is the exact same as the NBA's, which is a little bit interesting. I think every week that I've done my MVP rankings, it's been a little bit different. But this week, I agree with the NBA completely as far as the MVP race goes. In 5th, I've gone with DeMar DeRozan. In 4th, I'll give it to Paul George. Last week, I left Paul George off. Probably shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. All right. In 3rd, I'm going to go with Nikola Jokic right now in the MVP race. Easy pick for me. And the top 2 were teammates 2 years ago. Number 2 is Stephen Curry, and number 1 is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's the MVP, and I think it should be everyone's eyes. It really should be. All right, so that's the MVP right there. We're going to move on now to the hottest teams in the NBA, the hottest teams in the league, because I've been noticing right now in the standings, we're starting to see a few teams who might have started off a little bit slower, who are putting together some great winning streaks. We're going to start off with Golden State, obviously. They're the best record in the NBA. They've got the most wins in the NBA. They're 11-2 on the season. They just come off a loss to the Charlotte Hornets. But Golden State, obviously led by Stephen Curry, but they've had a great supporting cast outside of Steph Curry. The quote-unquote other guys have really stepped up this year for Golden State. It's guys like Jordan Poole. Gary Payton II as well has really impressed. I didn't even really know that Gary Payton had a son who was playing in the NBA until I saw him do a crazy dunk. But yeah, Gary Payton's been getting the Chase Center on their feet every single year. Let me just pull up the supporting cast's stats right now for the Golden State Warriors. Because going into the year, I think we weren't expecting the Warriors to be as good as they are right now. Stephen Curry putting up 28 points a game. That's what you expect. That's your best player there, Stephen Curry. But after that, you got Jordan Poole putting up 17.5 points a game. You got Andrew Wiggins giving you 17 points a game. You got Damian Lee giving you 11 points per game. And then after that, you got Draymond Green, Bielitsa, Otto Porter, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney. You got Andre Iguodala's on the team. You got a bunch of guys that are filling in what needs to be filled in for Golden State offensively, and their defense has been spectacular. Golden State have hit 100 points every game they've played in, and their point differential is on average 13.5 points per game differential in their games they've played. They're blowing teams out. It's not even close. They're destroying teams every night, and it's not just due to Stephen Curry's offensive ability. That's got a lot to do with it, but Golden State's defense has been spectacular, and the Warriors are really starting to remind me of their dynasty years, the 3 or 4 or 5 years that they ruled the NBA. Especially in that the way that they play defense, obviously, because Golden State's dynasty was known for having the star power of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and their offense, their very flashy offense. But people don't realize and remember how good their defense was, especially in 2015 before they got Kevin Durant. Their defense won them the 2015 NBA championship. And this year, Golden State's got that defense again. They are strapping teams up. Also, the way they play in the third quarter. I watched them destroy the Chicago Bulls in the third quarter last night. And that's something that was very popular or very common back when the Warriors were winning NBA championships, is that they would come out in the third quarter at a halftime, and Steve Kerr would have said some magical shit, and the Golden State Warriors would blow teams out in the third quarter. You could stick with the Warriors up until halftime, but after that, you're done. The Phoenix Suns started off really slow. They've won 8 games in a row. It's Chris Paul still. What year is he? He's in year like 15, 16, 17. I don't even know anymore. Chris Paul is getting up there. But every single year, CP3 continues to defy the age. I mean, age is just a number for Chris Paul. Even when he's not scoring, he's still impacting team success. Big ups Chris Paul. The Denver Nuggets have won 5 games in a row. Nikola Jokic. This man last year was no fluke for Nikola Jokic. He's still that guy. The LA Clippers, no Kawhi Leonard. A lot of people thought this team wouldn't be so good this year. They just came off a loss to the Bulls, but before that, they won 7 games in a row. And the Clippers are a team that I predicted to be the 7th seed, I think, before the season started. They're currently in 6th. But as I'm looking at this Clippers team, I mean, they could be a top 4 seed in the West without Kawhi Leonard. They really could be. The Brooklyn Nets, very hot right now. It's what you'd expect out of Brooklyn as well. They're 8-2 over the last 10. Kevin Durant's balling out. I already mentioned how James Harden, he's not giving you the 35-point games like he used to do in Houston, but he's still being just as impactful. He's giving you 41% from downtown, 42% from the field, 20 points a night, 9 assists a game. He's doing what needs done in Brooklyn. The Washington Wizards right now are currently the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. What the fuck? Bradley Beal finally has found his supporting cast, I guess. Bradley Beal's finally got it, and it's come by the likes of Montrezl Harrell. It's come with Kyle Kuzma, Spencer Dinwiddie. It's Washington. It's Bradley Beal, and the 3 guys around Bradley Beal who have really stepped up this year are almost like rejects. Spencer Dinwiddie was outcast in Brooklyn. They didn't need him anymore. Kyle Kuzma was laughed out of the Lakers. He was called trash going into this year. Wasn't taken seriously at all. Montrezl Harrell was one of the most hated players in the NBA when he was playing on the Clippers about 2 years ago. And now look at him. They're atop the Eastern Conference with a bunch of guys that nobody wanted. That's how the bullshit goes, I guess. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are sitting in 4th in the East. And I'm going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, kind of segue into my next section into the rookie ladder, because the Cleveland Cavaliers are 4th in the Eastern Conference, and I've been quoted saying that Scotty Barnes is the best rookie in this rookie class. But I might have spoken too soon here. I really might have, because this man Evan Mobley that the Cleveland Cavaliers picked up, he's no scrub. All right, Evan Mobley's he's a baller. I've written here, Evan Mobley looks like a generational talent in the making. He really does. He can do it all. 7 feet tall, and he moves like he moves, and he's got Cleveland 9-5 in the East right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're the 4 seed in the East. No one expected that. Colin Sexton's out with an injury right now, and they're still winning games with Darius Garland in there. Jared Allen as well has been an absolute monster for the Cavaliers, but Evan Mobley's really struck my eyes. Been putting up about 18 points a game over the past couple of weeks. I think Mobley, when he's fully developed and he's at the point that that Jokic is at now, or Giannis is at now, when he's at the peak of his career, when he's in his prime, I expect him, putting up about 25 points a game, 12 boards a game, and even a couple assists per game, and just knocking down 3-pointers at a high rate. He's a scary guy. His potential, I kind of want to say, is untapped. And that's moving into the rookie ladder. The rookie ladder this week in the NBA, Evan Mobley is leading the rookie of the year race right now, according to the NBA. Number 2 is Scotty Barnes. Number 3, Chris Duarte from the Indiana Pacers. Evan Mobley, he's been balling out. Scotty Barnes has kind of slowed down since the season since his hot start to the year. He's put up 11 points per game over the past week. Evan Mobley putting up 18 points a game over the past week. And I'm looking at these two guys right now, and Evan Mobley looks to be the better player over his recent form. Very early in the career. It's only a small sample size, I understand that. But I might have been too quick to call Scotty Barnes the best player out of the 2021 NBA draft. I'm just saying. I'm sorry to the Cleveland Cavalier fans out there. I'm sorry to Evan Mobley. All right, but Mobley's really starting to catch my eye. Moving on now to our final segment, the hot take segment now, all right? This has been a shorter episode, whatever, just like last week's was. But next week will be a bit longer. Hot taking, I got 3 hot takes coming in here. The first one from I can't even fucking read you guys' usernames anymore. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. It's me being an idiot. You see his name on the screen. Hot take, if the Pacers are fully healthy, they are a threat in the East. I wouldn't consider the Pacers to be I mean, that depends what you think a threat is. I guess when I think of threat, I think of a team that has a contender, pretty much is when I think of threat. But if to you, threat is just, all right, they got a shot at making it to the playoffs, or they got a chance at winning a round in the NBA playoffs, sure, they got a shot. Because I think that the Indiana Pacers are a team that can make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. And I said this back when they were 1-6, I think, on the year. I said, look, Indiana's got a shot at making the playoffs. They're 6-8 right now. They're 12th in the East. They've got a few injuries. Sabonis hasn't really hit his stride yet. But I think that the Indiana Pacers have been very underrated this year. And yeah, do the Pacers have a shot at winning a playoff series in the Eastern Conference this year, or at least making the playoffs? I think they'll make the playoffs, the Pacers, but I wouldn't really call them a threat in the East. Anyway, thanks for that hot take. Moving on, 2K420 says hot take, Raptors are going to finish 6th in the East. Toronto currently sitting at 9th in the East. They're 7-7, 500 record. Scotty Barnes has been struggling a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see how much Pascal Siakam can do for the team. Toronto to be a 6th seed in the East, I think will sort of take a miracle for Toronto Raptors fans. I'm sorry. I know that you guys don't want to hear that. I understand that a lot of my viewers are living in Canada and don't like it when I give my opinion on the Raptors. So I'm sorry, but I think that the Raptors will be lucky to make the playoffs. To me, they're a play-in team, a play-in lock. I think Toronto, they'll finish anywhere between the 9 and 11 seed, 9 and 12 seed, honestly. Not 12. That's kind of low. But I think Toronto, they look like a play-in team right now. I wouldn't consider them a 6th seed, but 7 to 11 seed for the Toronto Raptors this year. And finally, Gaspo F. John says, hot take, not really Knicks when playing at best is a top 5 team in the league. Saying Knicks when they're playing at their best is a top 5 team in the league. I think that's what he's kind of saying there. I don't think so. Look, the New York Knicks, they've lost 2 in a row. They've had 5-5 over the last 10. New York's at 7th seed in the East right now. I think the Knicks going into the year were underrated by most people. I'll admit that, including myself. I underrated the New York Knicks going into the year. They got off to a really hot start. They've kind of, mellowed out since then. They're still a playoff team. They're still 7th in the Eastern Conference. But are they a top 5 team in the NBA when they're playing at their best? No, I don't think so. Let's do this. The top 5 teams when fully healthy in the NBA, first of all, are the Brooklyn Nets at number 1, easy. Healthy Kyrie, easy. At number 2, I would probably say, I kind of want to say Lakers at number 2, but right now I'm going to go Golden State Warriors at number 2. At number 3, I'll give the Lakers. 4, I'll give Clippers. And 5, Milwaukee Bucks for when fully healthy, playing at their best. I'll say that, yeah. Brooklyn, Golden State, Lakers, Clippers, Bucks. Easy money. Those are 3 hot take questions. That's the show. It's only been 25 minutes long. All right. I'm sorry about that. Unless you enjoyed watching a shorter episode. I'm going to be getting some guests on here. I'm sorry. I promise you. All right. I watched Dune as well. I'm not going to lie. I kind of lost interest by the end of it. It was hard for me to keep up. I got so many questions. I don't understand what Zendaya's significance was. I didn't really get the whole thing about the spice or the salt or whatever spice, whatever's in the sand. I didn't really understand that. I liked the movie though. I enjoyed watching it. I don't think I'm smart enough to understand it after only watching it once though. That's my problem. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. The first little bit was a bit boring. It got kind of hype once he put his hand in the box and had to endure the pain for however long that was. I mean, it was interesting for sure. And the bad guy, like the fat guy who like is really tall, fuck him. Anyway, yeah, that was my week. I watched Dune. So yeah, there it is. Season 3, episode 7, the OffTheDome podcast. That's it for me. You know, it's whatever. Feeling good, living better. Drake once said that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. Peace out. I'll see y'all next week.